Hello students, welcome to the third session for 12th standard science, biology, dealing with the chapter the sexual reproduction in case of the flowering plants. Well, up till now we have discussed very well about the male gametophyte of a typical flower, the female gametophyte of a typical flower, and now our main focus of attention is on the pollination, the various types of the pollination and the outbreeding devices. Well, there are numerous flowers on the surface of the earth, and they are formed by two basic variations. But here we'll focus on the pollination and its various types. That is, the transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma is said to be the pollination. And there are two basic types of the pollination: the self-pollination and the cross-pollination. Here we can observe the transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma, which is nothing but the pollination. And various external agents are responsible for the purpose of the pollination. So basically there are two major types of the pollination: the self-pollination and the cross-pollination. When the transfer of the pollen grains they take place from the anther to the stigma of the same flower, it is said to be the self-pollination. And when it takes place between the two different flowers, either of the same plant or of different plants, it is said to be the cross-pollination. Now there are different kinds of the pollination depending upon the source of the pollen. And basically there are three basic kinds of the pollination. They are the autogamy, the geitonogamy, and the xenogamy. Focusing on the autogamy. In this type, the pollination is achieved within the same flower, and the transfer of the pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower. In the normal flower, which opens and exposes the anther and the stigma, the complete autogamy is rather rare. So, the autogamy in such flowers require synchrony in the pollen release and the stigma receptivity. And also the anther and the stigma should lie close to each other for the self-pollination to occur. For examples, the viola, the oxalis, and the commonelia, they produce two types of the flowers. That is, the chasmogamous flowers, which are basically similar to the flowers of the other species, which are exposed to the anthers and the stigma. And the second one, that is the clistogamous flowers, which do not open at all. So in such flowers, the anther and the stigma, they lie close to each other. So when the anther dehisces, that is the anther breaks down, the pollen grains they come out in contact with the stigma to affect the pollination. Thus, the clistogamous flowers are invariably autogamous, as there is no chance of the cross-pollination to occur. The second one is the geitonogamy. Here, the transfer of the pollens from the anther to the stigma of another flower of the same plant. So, although geitonogamy is functionally a cross-pollination involving a pollen agent, genetically it is similar to autogamy, since the pollen grains they come from the same plant. So here we can easily observe how the transfer of the pollen grains they basically occur. And certain pollen grains, they are covered by means of some sort of outer covering. There are various agents for this also. That is, the agents of the pollination. They may be the biotic agents or the abiotic agents also. That is, the living agents like the insects, the birds, bees, butterflies, and the bats also. And there are abiotic agents like the wind and the water. So there are wind pollinated plants and water pollinated plants also. Well, focusing on the insect pollinating plants. Well, when the insect sits on the surface of the plant, because of the attraction that is mainly achieved, the pollen grains, they basically attached on the surface of the body of such insects, and when these insects they move on to another flower, then the pollens are ultimately released, and the transfer of the pollen grains they take place. So majority of the insect pollinated flowers, they are large, they are colorful, fragrant, and rich in the nectar also, in order to attract a lot of insects. So when the flowers are small, a number of flowers are clustered together, so they are grouped together. Here we can easily observe the grouping of the flowers together, and these organisms they are easily attracted to the flowers by means of the color or the fragrance also. The flowers which are pollinated by the flies or the beetles, they secrete the foul odor also in order to attract these animals, and to sustain the animal visits, the flowers have to provide rewards to the animals. And the nectar and the pollen grains are the usual floral rewards that are basically provided. Here there are various examples of it. The Amorphophallus. Moreover, the body of the animals they get a coating of the pollen grains on the surface, and which ultimately stick in the animal pollinated flowers. So likewise, the pollen grains they are basically attached, and the eggs are ultimately laid by the insect itself. So the transfer of the pollen grains have taken place, and the insects have laid the typical eggs on the surface of the plant. Further later on, the development of the seeds it takes place, and the further development also occurs. So when an insect carrying such pollen grains on its body, it comes in contact with the stigma, it brings about the pollination. Such thing is also found in case of the aquatic plants also. So in case of the aerial plants as well as in case of the aquatic plants. There are a lot of water pollinated plants also, like the Vallisneria, the Hydrilla, and the Zostera. So pollination by water is quite rare in the flowering plants, and it is mainly limited to about 30 genera, mostly in case of the monocots, that is the monocotyledons. Well, in case of Vallisneria, a female flower reaches the surface of the water by means of the long stalk, and the male flowers or the pollen grains are released onto the surface of the water. So they are carried passively by the water currents. Moreover, some of them they eventually reach the female flower and the stigma. So here we can easily observe the movement of the anther which takes place and reaching the site of the females, giving rise to the transfer of the pollen grains. Exactly similar thing occurs in case of the Zostera also. Well, in another group of water pollinated plants, the female flowers remain they submerged in water, and the pollen grains are released inside the water. Here we can observe the ribbon like the pollen grains. So pollen grains in such species they are long ribbon like, and they are carried passively inside the water, and some of them they reach the stigma and they achieve the pollination. In most of the water pollinated species, the pollen grains are protected by means of the wetting by a mucilaginous covering. So by means of some sort of the covering, the pollen grains are ultimately protected. Here we can observe the transfer of the pollen grains in case of the aquatic medium? Well, there are a lot of wind pollinated plants, the grasses, the bamboos, the coconuts, and the maize also. This pollination by wind is very common amongst the abiotic pollination. That is, the wind pollination requires that the pollen grains are light and they are not sticky, so that they can be transported in the wind current. They often possess well exposed stamens so that the pollens are easily dispersed into the wind current, and large, often feathery stigma to easily trap the airborne pollen grains. Such wind pollinated flowers, they often have a single ovule in each ovary, and the numerous flowers, they are packed into an inflorescence. A familiar example is there of the corn cob, and nearly 5 lakh pollen grains are ultimately released. So more number of pollen grains that are released gives rise to the chances of the pollination to occur. Here we can easily observe that how the pollen grains are released in case of the aquatic medium, and the transfer of the pollen grains in case of the Zostera plant, and with the help of the agents, that is the insects. So these are the various ways of the pollination with the help of the major agents. So up till now we have discussed about the pollination and its various types. But there are a lot of hindrances. That is, there are various outbreeding devices. So majority of the flowering plants, they produce hermaphrodite flowers, and the pollen grains are likely to come in contact with the stigma of the same flower. So continued self-pollination, it results in inbreeding depression. Flowering plants, they have developed many devices to discourage the self-pollination and to encourage the cross-pollination. So with the production of the same varieties, a lot of depressions might be created. So in some species, the pollens that are released and the stigma receptive are not synchronized. That is, either the pollen is released much before the stigma becomes receptive, or the stigma becomes receptive much before the release of the pollen also. So a lot of variations are basically created by the plant itself. So reduced pollen output and the decreased seed production ultimately takes place. In some other species, the anther and the stigma are placed at different positions so that the pollen cannot come in contact with the stigma of the same flower. So such outbreeding devices are the mechanisms that discourage the self-pollination and they encourage the cross-pollination also. So there are various outbreeding devices, that is the dichogamy, the hercogamy, the self-incompatibility, the pollen prepotency, and etc. Furthermore, here the examples of the bisexual flower is there, where the anther and the stigma are easily present together. So how to do so? So in such plants, there are various ways. One of them is the protandry. Here we can easily observe the different locations of the anther and the stigma. So they produce some sort of protandrous flowers with the different locations of the anther and the stigma, so that the transfer does not take place. This is some sort of the genetic mechanism and prevents the self-pollination and encourages a lot of the cross-pollination. Furthermore, a genetic mechanism and prevents the self-pollination, encouraging the cross-pollination. Another device to prevent such self-pollination is the production of the unisexual flowers. If both the male and the female flowers are present on the same plant, such as in case of the castor or the maize, it prevents the autogamy but not the geitonogamy. Here we can observe in case of the passion flower that how the prevention has taken place of the self pollination encouraging the cross pollination. So self incompatibility, it also prevents the autogamy and the geitonogamy. Furthermore, this condition, it also helps in the generation of a lot of new and variety of the plants. So in such sort of plants, the pollen tube formation might not take place. The next one is the pollen prepotency. So pre means before. So here in case of such plants, the arrangement itself is such that here we can observe in the diagram that one pollen tube, it races to form the fertilization, and the other pollen tube which is formed, it is not completely formed, so it will not be allowing the other pollen tube to form. So in case of the monoecious plants such as coconut, the unisexual flowers, they prevent autogamy but not the geitonogamy. So that was about the entire thing in relation to the pollination, its various types and the outbreeding devices. Well, in the next class, we shall proceed in much detail about the other events of the sexual reproduction in case of the flowering plants. Thank you very much.